We're glad you could join us today to hear about True Use Case, AI for Call Center using Amazon Connect. We're excited not only to share the journey and the solutions for cloud-based call center solution, but to share the roadmap, results, challenges, so that you can move to the cloud and be faster and complete the project with more clarity. My name is Michelle Chung, and I'm the director of True, a public-private partnership with a mission to increase tech-enabled jobs in Hawaii. We all face similar problems. How can my workforce securely work remotely? How do I engage customers during the pandemic? How can I leverage technology in a better way? True aims to support organizations in Hawaii by sharing solutions to common business problems, like the one you're going to see today, with the intent to help accelerate the adoption of technology and innovation. We hope this will support other organizations in solving similar problems. True is an initiative of the Hawaii Executive Collaborative. If you're interested to learn how you or your organization can be part of True, please visit us at hec.org/true. I'd like to thank the other organizations who helped bring you these events. The first is HTDC, Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. They're a state agency attached to DBED, Department of Business Economic Development and Tourism. Their mandate is to grow the tech economy and workforce here in Hawaii, which is closely aligned with True. The second is the Entrepreneur Sandbox. They're a co-working facility in Kaka'ako owned by HTDC and managed by Box Jelly. It's Hawaii's front door to innovation, where we stand up technology, showcase it, and provide an open space for collaboration. If you haven't seen it yet, I hope you can come by when the lockdown lifts. On the menu for today, we have a fireside chat on AI for call center and a brief demo, followed by other Amazon Connect and AWS use cases to show different solutions on the island, and then we'll close with Q&A. Before we begin, let me share a couple of housekeeping items. The session will be recorded, and please feel free to send in your questions during the session through the Q&A function. We'll address them at the end of the webinar. If the Q&A goes long, please do submit your questions and we'll do our best to get you the answers after the event. As we face the pandemic, we're faced with difficult decisions of how to maintain operations, earn a livelihood, and staying safe. Everyone talks about the new normal, but we're not there yet. And the world and the way we do things is changing right before our eyes. Much of the change is enabled by technology, and we're all still learning and adjusting. Today, we get to see how Central Pacific Bank has digitally transformed their call center to meet the needs of a dispersed workforce, increased call volume, and demanding customer service by moving to the cloud. It's weird that we have a fireside chat with everyone so far apart, but we're together digitally and in spirit. Whoops, sorry. Please join me in welcoming our speakers today. Adrienne Chee is the SVP and Division Head of Information Technology at Central Pacific Bank. Innovation means imagining something new, a fresh idea that hasn't been done before. The same concept applies to banking. With over 30 years of experience in banking technology, Adrienne is a key team member helping to drive innovation at CPB. Adrienne has experience in managing complex technology projects, strategic implementations. In 2019, Adrienne led the innovation and transformation of the bank's collaboration platform, introducing new ways of working for the CBP employees. Adrienne is deeply rooted in Hawaii and is no stranger to hard work, helping on the family farm in Kona, where she still travels every harvest season to lend a hand. She earned a Bachelor's of Science degree from HPU and serves on the board for Junior Achievement of Hawaii. I'd also like to welcome Chris Jones. He's a technical project manager at Aspen Technology Group based out of Colorado. Chris has worked for more than 20 years in the contact center space. He started out working for outsourcing call centers in San Diego and Buffalo during the late 1990s, sorry. Supporting voice technology platforms for inbound telesales and customer service, along with outbound programs for financial institutions. I promise it wasn't a knock. It was just a misread.
I liked it.
After working in the outsourcing industry, Chris moved to the .com world and landed with ProFlowers. Under the Provide Commerce umbrella, Chris managed both the domestic call center platforms and routing domestic outsourced call centers for multiple brands, including ProFlowers, Sherry Berries, Cherry Moon Farms. At peak periods, Provide Commerce would answer close to 2 million calls within 3 weeks. Chris is now with Aspen Technology Group, a consultancy that focuses on providing the best customer experience. Thank you both for sharing and for prepping some slides, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'd like to turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Michelle. That was a great introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and to present Amazon Connect along with Adrienne.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having both of us share this, great project that we're working on. So thank you.
So we'll kick this off, Adrienne, that you've been working on digitizing your contact center. What is AI for your contact center? What does it mean to you and CPB?
Yeah, so Chris, thank you. Great starting question. So, for me, AI for call center really means leveraging the innovative benefits of artificial intelligence, robotics, and machine learning and automation to drive faster, more consistent service while delivering higher customer satisfaction and expectations, right? Improving the platform and the call center experience with innovation to help create possibilities for enhancing products and services and automating routine tasks and even helping, with improving or making this, just pure decision making, really.
So how did you get started on this? What got you going and pointing in this direction?
Yeah, so, it's always been an initiative of the bank to improve our contact center platform. Our current platform is old. It's seen its years, and, it really functions more like a traditional PBX. And so we're looking, and we've been having discussions around moving to an omni-channel solution, something that will, improve our customer engagement and our experience. And, fortunately, through True and the True initiative, CPB volunteered to lead this specific use case, AI for call center, and purely because, we believe that it's our way to contribute and our social responsibility, really, to contribute to ideas and solutions that can help benefit all organizations in Hawaii, not just the bank. And so when we took on this, when we took on and we volunteered to take on this use case, with the help of our Human Resources Department, we opened up a summer internship program, partnering with local universities and colleges to work on this specific use case. And so part of that was hiring 4 interns, and they spent the summer with us last summer. And they, from Chaminade, University of Hawaii, and some of the a couple of the community colleges, Honolulu Community College, Kapiolani Community College. And so they spent the summer with us, and, when they first came on board, they actually had no idea what a contact center was, what they did. And so we put them served as actual agents in our internal help desk support. And really that was about learning, what are the pain points? What does it do? And what problem were they there to solve? And they did a great job, so they spent a month serving as an agent, and then went into design thinking, and from there spent countless hours doing research and talking to tech companies just to gather data. And, it was enjoyable to work with them as much as, I think they had fun as well. We both learned from each other. But they contacted over 50 different solutions providers in the AI for call center space, including the big ones, Amazon, obviously, and then Google, Microsoft, IBM, Apple, and, they just gathered a lot of data, and they did a phenomenal job.
That's actually a pretty cool summer to spend in college, working with all those big companies and in a bank. So I think it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
What list of business problems did you give them that you were trying to solve by looking at these different companies?
Yeah, so, There were many business problems, of course, that we, of course, had to group them into different buckets. But, off the top of my head, the bigger ones for us to solve, was pretty agent mobility, being able to, have our workforce be able to work from remote locations and even from home. Today, we're tied in the office because of the current platform that we're on. The lack of being able to just gather simple customer satisfaction metrics automatically. Today, that's manual. We get to pick and choose, what customers we want to survey. Staffing stability is an issue and a problem that we need to solve. And then just keeping up with the increasing customer expectations. And then, our platforms, our integration into all the different IT platforms. Today, our agents spend a lot of time toggling from one system and one application to the other. And that's tough. They've got to spend all of their time, tending to customer calls, and they're not able to spend time selling. And, a lot of it has to do with how our platforms are just not integrated.
It's definitely a lot of problems to solve. What kind of goals did you create for this project that you were actually looking to reach as part of doing this?
Yeah, besides everything, let's see, that was a tough one because we sat there when we talked a lot about, what were our goals, what were we going to do? And so what we came up with, and Michelle, if you can bring up the next slide, working with the interns, this is how we actually compartmentalize the entire journey to make it into a simple, much more, a much simpler picture. And so what we pulled together was really 4 different components or phases, if you will. And the first one is customer effort. And what customer effort is, it is about the agent. It is about our people, the ones that have to work in the contact center, the ones that are on the front line, the ones that are actually doing the work with our customers. And so the customer effort is about, what are their tools? What do they use? What are the challenges they're having? How can we make their experience great so that they can deliver that same feeling to our external customers? I call this the meat phase, the part where we have to get it right. That's where all the heavy lifting occurs. And, and if we can get it right in customer effort and make that customer effort seamless, make it as smooth as possible by the introduction of AI, we think we can then achieve better customer satisfaction metrics. We can get the metrics that we're looking for. We can get a good read on how we're doing in terms of our entire experience. And, from there, flow into changing our contact center, which is an important channel for the bank. They have so many touch points with so many of our customers. Well, we need to use that as a leverage to cross-sell. So, getting to, by doing all of these phases, we can eventually get them back into selling and helping to grow the business. And then finally, our ultimate goal, which is omni-channel, bringing everything together to provide a simple, clean, and seamless experience for our agents, between our agents and our customers. Back to you, Chris. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with all those goals, there's a lot here that you definitely have to measure and make sure line up with your business needs. Why did Amazon Connect fit that? Well, what was special about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you some of the points that, that resonated for me. And this was all through the research and efforts of our interns. And, the first thing was that Amazon Connect was a cloud-hosted solution. And, at the bank, our technology strategy has been cloud first. Or we don't have the internal resources to manage everything. And, certainly our core competency is banking and, not software and development. And so, cloud-hosted solution, that was great. It struck home very quickly. Secondly, and I think this was a big deal for me, it was free. No contract commitment or contract required to get started. And let me tell you, Chris, I asked this question 5, 6, maybe 7 times. I can't even tell you how many times I asked this question because I had to make sure that free meant it was really free. And so, but it turned out it was no contract commitment. And I just thought, wow, that was great. The fact that it was easy and fast to deploy, and we learned that through the Amazon, events that was hosted here in Hawaii. And, it came with the AI components. AI, robotics, machine learning capabilities was all a part of the solution. And, part of taking a look at any system that we bring in, it's important that the platform or software that we're choosing to go with works with our own banking platforms. We are, about 80 to 90% virtual. Our network in the bank is virtual, and then also we do a lot of remote connectivity. So I had to make sure that it can operate based on our network environment. And then it had to support omni-channel, and it did through all of our research. One of the big things about Amazon Connect is that it can deliver an omni-channel, experience. And, and that was all of the data that we collected, and that's how we got to, our checklist and our check marks and said, yeah, this is a good fit. And, fast forward to today, I'm glad that we stuck to that decision. Synergy Research Group just put out a survey and has shown that Amazon is the leader in the $100 billion cloud market as of second quarter 2020. And so, it's exciting to see that, the choices that we made is being supported, even, across the tech market. And so that's pretty exciting. And, Chris, just one more fun note that I wanted to mention, we talked about our interns, and, I wanted to mention that we actually hired one of the summer interns, and she is a full-time person with us today, working in our IT support help desk as an agent, and where she actively and continuously contributes to the success of this project. So we're pretty proud of that.
That's actually really cool. She gets to see the part of the decision she was part of, actually now in action, deployment, everything. You did mention Amazon is the leader as of Q2 of this year in the cloud in the cloud market. They have 33% of the business, and Azure is their second place with 18%. So they definitely are the leader in what people are
that's
definitely
quite a gap.
Moving to. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a pretty good lead. Wow. Yeah.
You mentioned the ease of deployment, and one of the things, obviously, I think is great, the lack of a need for a contract. It's one of the things that I know licensing, maintenance that you always have to pay for in the traditional PBX world is crazy. Outside of that, how did you see the ease of deployment? What made it so simple for you?
So yeah, when we first, once we signed up for our subscription with Amazon and said, yes, we're going to do this, I was pretty surprised that our test instance literally took just 2 days to stand up. And what I mean by that, in 2 days, we were actually picking up calls on the Amazon Connect test instance. And these were live calls because we could forward the calls through our test instance and actually take agent calls and service our customers. And so what does that mean? What did that mean? We had, a working number through Amazon Connect. We had Poly AI text-to-speech enabled, and we had call recording. And so, those were really the three main minimum features that you needed to get running in a call flow. And, again, 2 days, I couldn't believe how quick and simple that was. And then, today we're doing actual production deployments. We are deploying the technology to several support areas across the bank. And, it takes us literally 4 to 5 days to enable and deploy and get a support area up and running. And, part of that 4 to 5 days includes, engaging with the business owner and making sure we understand their operations and we understand their business. Mapping out their customer journey, and then, diagramming the call flow, setting up the users, going through UAT, providing user training, and then finally getting them into production. And so, that's a pretty short time frame to get a full operating contact center going. And I'm pretty impressed with that. And, you know, and part of that is, part of that deployment, that ease of deployment, for us, what makes it even easier is that, you know, we've decided to partner with an Amazon solutions integrator called, you know, Aspen Technology, Chris, from, you know, which is where you're from. And so you've been intimately involved in our project, and I thank you for all the work and helping getting us to this point. And, you know, but that, you know, you don't have to go with a solutions integrator. Amazon Connect, you can also, you know, manage the deployment and manage the system in-house if you have your own resources as well. And so, Michelle, you know, if you can bring up the next slide, what I wanted to share as part of the deployment is, you know, just some quick pictures around, you know, I mentioned customer journey mapping and some call flow diagram, and I just wanted to give you a hint of some of the work that we did with the interns. And so this is a customer journey map of our help desk support call center. And, you know, what's nice about doing the customer journey map is, one, you kind of see what you put your customers through when they're making a phone call, but more importantly, you see what your agents have to deal with. And if you can see in this picture here, and, you know, Michelle can just kind of slide, this is just one of 3 pages, but any picture here that you see that looks like a cup is the best way that I can describe it. That signifies that that's a manual process. And as you go through, as Michelle's flipping through these diagrams, you can see that there's a lot of cups in there. And so, you know, we've got, you know, when we looked at that, we said, wow, we've got a lot of work to do to help improve the experience for our agents and make their jobs more efficient. And so, you know, the customer journey map was just very insightful for us. And so once we get the customer journey maps done, we move into, and what Michelle is showing there is what we call, you know, the call flow. And this is a simple call flow of our IT support help desk. And we take this picture, so we take the journey map, we condense it down into this technical picture, which is really just a concept. It's a conceptual diagram of how we want the flows, the call flows to occur. So this is the picture we gave over to you, Chris, at Amazon. And on the next slide is just a glimpse of how it gets translated into Amazon Connect. And, you know, what I wanted to point out here is there's a common theme when using Amazon Connect, and everything is all flow charting. You know, we've been using flowcharts, have been the tool for us in this entire journey. And, you know, Michelle mentioned earlier, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And yeah, and in this case and with this project, pictures are everything. You know, it just gives you a clear view of where you are, where you want to go, and how do we get there.
I think one of the things you're talking about, ease of deployment, we also, Amazon and Aspen, we put on what we call boot camps, where you can come and see it, you know, see an introduction as to what the application can do for you, and actually work on a little use case for your own. Like, we can walk you through actually building out how a call center would look and building out some small parts of it, so you can actually get a feel for the application, not just the contact flow, but other parts that go along with it. You know, lambdas, data dips, all sorts of backend things that you can do to enhance the availability of data getting to your agents. That's definitely something we can do. You know, with all the work you've done, you know, I like how you brought the interns in. That was great, and how you got them trained on how to be call center agents, and then set them free. You gave them the list of problems to solve, and all these quick deployments. What is the state of the project at this point?
Yeah, so Michelle, if you can bring up the next slide. You know, we took the roadmap that we presented, or, you know, the goals map, if you will, and we mapped it into this roadmap and into different phases. And so, you know, we've gone through our design thinking, and that was with our interns and, you know, our original research. And, you know, we've mapped it into phases. And so, Michelle, if you can flip to the next slide, please. So on this next slide, if you look at this blue bubble, you know, I talked about the customer effort and making sure that, you know, we get everything right. And we are still in the customer effort phase. We are still working with deployments. We are still bringing on more operational areas and support areas into this call center solution. And so, yeah, you know, we're still doing a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of heavy work here in the customer effort phase. And, you know, if I had to guess, I would say we would probably be in this phase a good part of the rest of the year, if not maybe into January 2021.
So we've covered all the kind of the area from your research up to where deployment, your state of it, the state of the project at this point. What advice would you give to anyone who's starting to look into AI and specifically a cloud solution compared to the traditional approach to call center, contact centers?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chris. You know, when you get into AI, and I have to tell you, you know, getting for myself, last year was the most that I've ever dug into AI. I've read about AI, I've heard about it, I've, you know, participated in webinars about AI, but I really didn't know what AI meant. And so I had to do a lot of research myself and a lot of understanding and talking story with people. And, you know, the first advice that I can offer for any organization is, you know, first and foremost, have a clear understanding of the role of AI that AI will play in your organization's customer experience journey and strategy. It is so important, right? For us, AI and the introduction of AI and robotics and machine learning is more about making enhancements to our existing strategy and not renovating it. So, you know, that's first and foremost, understand the role of AI. How is it going to be introduced into your organization? What goals are you trying to hit, and how can AI help you meet those goals? You know, and secondly, you know, we decided to partner with a third-party integrator, you know, Chris, with your company. And so it is important to make sure, first and foremost, that your goals, your requirements, your timelines, everything that you're expecting to get done is well documented, well organized, and most importantly, clearly communicated to your provider or your partner. And make sure that your partner, your solutions partner, clearly understands all of those requirements, all of the objectives that you're trying to accomplish, and your expectations. You know, and then the reason why I say this is so important, it can really make a difference on how well your project is implemented, and the amount of, you know, the amount of bumps and bruises that you experience along the way. And Chris, I see you smiling, and I know why you're smiling, and you've been a part of this. And so I'm going to give an example. You know, we spent time building out the very first call flow, and we were so excited and so happy, and we were almost to the end. And I want to say we were there about, you know, 99% ready to go. And then I introduced to Chris, and I said, hey, Chris, I got to enable SSO, right? And Chris, your face was priceless. and for me, scary, because I didn't know what to think about that. But, you know, you had this face like, oh my God, I cannot believe you're telling me this now. And, you know, the end of the story, you know, to shorten the story on that is that we did have to rebuild. We did have to start again, but, you know, the beauty, and we talked about the ease of Amazon Connect. Chris was able to duplicate a lot of the work while Aspen worked on getting SSO implemented before we deployed. It was absolutely critical that SSO be deployed before getting it out into production. So, you know, that's a story that I can say how important it is to make sure that you have all of your requirements clearly documented.
That one definitely, you know, was a gotcha. And I should have known you were going to bring it up.
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, I had to.
Oh, it was, but you know, obviously, I think anything can be overcome, and with the ease of Connect, you know, I think we did get into a quick deployment, and that definitely was something that we both should have caught, and definitely, it was a learning experience. Yeah. But those are all things that they can be gotchas, making sure that we could, moving forward, go over all the details for every project, even the small parts, things you don't think are a big issue, to make sure you don't have any surprises like that.
Absolutely. And, you know, and I think just going through this journey, and this partnership, there is a lot of lessons learned that we already have up to this point, even though the project's not done yet. And, I think that's going to be important, and that's critical and valuable to offer to other organizations as well that, are thinking about getting into joining the Amazon ecosystem. And, with that, if anyone, if you're interested or anyone is interested in growing the Amazon ecosystem, here in Hawaii, reach out to through Michelle Chung or myself at CPB, and we would definitely, love to get together with you and talk story and see how we can help anyone or any organization to get started. And, Chris, any other advice that, maybe I didn't touch on that you think would be valuable?
No, I really think that having good communication with your partner is definitely important. I think you and I communicated well, and it made getting past that little bump not that big of an issue. That, and obviously making sure the details are covered, I think that is key.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely good points. Good points. Communication was and will always be key to making sure that it's successful. Any project is successful.
Yes.
Yeah. So, hey, Chris, I thought, at this point, I think this would be a great time to kind of jump in and show our viewers a little bit of the Amazon Connect and AI capabilities. How does that sound?
Okay, I can do that. So what we're going to go over here is very, very basic. It's not going to be anything in depth. It's just going to show the ease of deployment and how quick you can lay things out and get things done. So first, there we go. So everything is done, as you recall the slide that was brought up earlier that showed how Adrienne presented to us the contact flow, how she wanted to call the flow, where the options would be. And she had arrows on it showing where a call would start and where it would end up. Well, in the Amazon world, we actually do it like that with blocks. Every contact flow, the call will come in and have an entry point. And that entry point will start going through these blocks. They're just connected by lines. And the lines are very simple to connect. All you do is draw a line and you connect it. It's that simple to go the direction of your flow. So we set up things like call logging so that you can actually trace a call if that's what you need to do. And then you set up things like call recording and analytics. Now, if you've worked in a traditional call center in the past, that is something that, setting up call recording takes requirements gathering, engineering, how many contacts you need to actually record, how long you need to store them for. And if you were to add analytics to it, that is another completely different project. It's going to encompass servers you have to have on site, things you have to maintain, maintenance, licensing. So it's a big ordeal, and it would take at least weeks to do that if it was done quickly. What we do is from this menu on the left side where it says set recording and analytics behavior, we just drag this over. And I'm just going to lay it on top of this so it won't be really in production. And you see it says enable none. We're not doing anything with the recording. You just click on this box here on the top and call recording is turned off. It's as simple as turning it on and selecting who you're going to record. We're going to choose to record the agent and the customer. And we're also going to turn on contact lens, which is speech analytics. It's a great tool. It allows you to actually look at sentiment of the call. The system will interpret, by the way the agent and the customer or the caller are communicating, how the call is going. So you just enable that, and it's already set for the English language, and you would hit save. You've now turned on analytics, and you've enabled call recording. It's that simple. When you actually have a call that's recorded, I can actually show you how the analytics looks. You go to something called a contact trace record, a CTR. It gives you basic information about the call, the unique contact ID that follows the call all through anything time it's in connect, so it's a traceable call. Tells you the type of call it was, when it started, when it ended, how long the entire contact lasted, the phone number, who answered it, and what queue it went to. Then it goes over here, and this box here will tell you the sentiment of the call. 0 is going to be neutral. So in the very beginning, it interpreted the call as being not quite neutral. And as the call progressed, it went down a little bit. Was maybe some things weren't going as smooth as you want it to be, but the call overall ended in a positive note. So you can see
hey, Chris,
the call. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. I just wanted to mention, and so what we're looking at right now, this is an actual live call, right? This is something from our production system that happened.
Yes. It is a
Right,
call
this is
from
not,
September
this
2nd,
is,
yeah.
this, okay, so this is our system. So, wow, so this looks like it was a pretty good call.
Yes. I mean, so it was neutral for 63% of the call, positive
Yeah.
for nearly 20%, and there's some negative things in there that were 13%. And you can look through the transcript of the call and see why it was scored this way. Another
Sure.
important piece over here, talk time. So the total talk time of this call was just over 11 minutes. And what's important about this is it actually will tell you non-talk time, which while this might not seem like a big factor, but if you have backend systems that are making your agents unproductive, you can start looking at, well, why did I have non-talk time? What was going on? Can we improve that? So there's lots of areas you can actually look and see where you can make enhancements, not just on the agent performance, but your own system's performance.
Right.
So we can see here the agent talked for 48%, and the the customer spoke for about 48%, and the agent nearly 51%. So it's a very equal call. When the calls are recorded, it actually records in stereo. So when you do a playback, the customer will be in one speaker or one ear, and the agent will be in the other. So you can, when you're listening, if people are talking over each other, you can actually tell who was talking by just knowing which speaker it's coming out of. And then going down to the actual transcript of the call, it actually can actually transcribe the call.
Yeah.
Yep. The accuracy of this is going to be about 80%. It's not going to be perfect, but I think there's common words that may be misspoken, or the dialect or an accent. Sometimes it's a little not as good, but overall you'll get 80% of accuracy here. You look on the right side, when the agent answered, it was neutral. Didn't really give it a positive or negative. And that followed in through the hellos. And then I guess there's a problem being heard, and the customer said, yeah, I can hear you now, which was read as a favorable comment. So that's how you can scroll through and see where the sentiment is coming from, how it's being interpreted by the system, to drill down and look at what was happening around a positive or negative interpretation. Oh, here's a sad face. There's three icons you have to worry about. You have the sad, the red sad face. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Adrienne.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the transcript in this one looks pretty good. I'm surprised with the, you know, how well it captured all of the text from through the language.
And just to be honest, I didn't even search for that. This just happened to be a good one we grabbed. So that's a good one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, you did a good job.
Perfect. So you can scroll through and see, you know, where you want to look at the transcript for different parts of the call, if that's what you want to. You can see how long they spoke during different parts. So it's a great tool. And again, this was enabled very, very quickly. Didn't take long at all. Just like in your call center, when you decided to go with the analytics and it became available because it is a new product, we had it up and running same day.
Yep, same day.
So
we took one day to bring that in.
So to go through here, we use these blocks to set up different parts of the call. The call behavior as it goes through the flow. And one of the things you see here is set voice. This is how we set the voice that the caller will hear when they're hearing prompts or anything where the system is interacting with the customer and speaking to them. You know, usually you have to write a script, send it out to a talent, they record it, they send it back to you, upload it to your switch. And that takes time. If you want to make a change, those changes, you have to go through the whole process again. So it's definitely time consuming and a little more expensive. So we use something here at Amazon called Polly. And Polly is great because you can actually type in whatever you want. And I had this already copied and pasted in there. And we have these different voices. You can listen to male or female voices. And
isn't this great? I'm looking forward to using this solution in my organization.
And we can just as quickly change it to a male voice.
Isn't this great? I'm looking forward to using this solution in my organization.
Now, it did sound a little robotic, but there are things called SSML tagging where you can actually use commands to enunciate certain words and make changes to how it reads to make it sound a little bit better. And you're not stuck with just English. If you're an international company, you can actually have it, and we have the same phrase or a similar phrase available in Japanese.
素晴らしいですね。弊社に最適なソリューションだと思います。
And we can also do it with a male voice.
素晴らしいですね。弊社に最適なソリューションだと思います。
So it makes updating prompts and scripts very, very quick and efficient. And with all the different voices
Chris,
you can choose from. Yeah?
Right. Yeah, and just very quickly, and it's how many different languages?
Oh boy.
I know there's quite a bit, right?
I don't know the
Korean
count. Yeah, but there, right here, you can see there's a lot of different languages. Now, the different languages will have more or less voices available. So you can see that the English US has a large selection of voices. When we went to Japanese, it only had 2, a male and a female.
Well, Chris, hey, thank you very much for giving everyone, a quick glimpse into our live system. I've noticed it's our live system. So I was watching you very closely, but thank you. I mean, I think, that was very insightful for, our viewers. Thank you.
And we can, if we want to do a demo for anyone later on, we can actually go a lot deeper and talk about the different things you can put on, all the features, the lambdas, all the different ways you can enhance the caller experience.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Adrienne and Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sorry, thank you for sharing. How much things have changed since the 1900s?
Yeah, Chris, you age very well.
And for being so honest and open and sharing the good, the bad, and the funny. Thank you. For the next guest, I would like to invite Scott. Amazon Connect is only one component of Amazon solution set. Next, I'd like to introduce Scott Fujieda to share other use cases that he sees on the island, both with Amazon Connect and with AWS. Scott is Vice President of Solutions and Services at DataHouse, a local consulting firm that's been delivering world-class solutions to customers for over 40 years. Scott's been with DataHouse for 17 years to help guide and support organizations through their digital transformation journey, establishing innovative programs that can lead to new growth opportunities. He's a great deal of alignment with the True Initiative as well, establishing Hawaii as a leader in innovation in a way that will benefit both our economy and our community. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Michelle, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for allowing me to join you, Adrienne and Chris. So what I'd like to do is just share some of our own experience at DataHouse, and we are a local consultancy who have been providing solutions for over 40 years now. But from an Amazon perspective, we have been introduced and are a consulting select partner for several years now. And so we've been applying some of the technologies and solutions that Amazon provides to some use cases that I'd like to share as well. So one thing I wanted to start with, as we're talking about AWS Connect, is to think about the ability to not just engage with your users, whether they're clients, partners, or even internal users. And it's just one mode of communication. We talked about voice and its ability to pick up speech to text. But even if you want to think about how you would engage with users, you can think about chatbots, SMS and email as far as text, all of which are unstructured data. So as you can't think of how a person would call or send you a text message or email you as if they were filling out a form. So AI is a one way of starting to turn that unstructured data into something that is structured that will allow you to get new insights and adjust how you work and how you connect with people. Something else to keep in mind is that AWS Connect especially allows you to be adaptive. It's a two-way communication channel. It's not just one, not just a way for accepting transactions, but you could actually use it to communicate outbound. And by adaptive, what I mean is that you're able to set conditions. So depending on time of day, depending on how much you know about the person who's contacting you, you can set conditions, and that can be either manually, or you could actually adjust it to be on certain times of day, things that you can actually adjust on the fly or can actually try to predict. Thirdly, when I mentioned about analyzing unstructured data, but something that people just don't have time to do, is to be looking at all the transcripts. So you saw how Adrienne and Chris had shown you a transcript of a voice session, but how many times you're going to be able to actually look at each of those, transcribe it, and look for keywords or hints that a caller was satisfied or getting impatient. all of that kind of sentiment analysis is not something that could really realistically be done with a team, especially folks who may have just started into a contact center mode. And lastly, all of these things can be applied to really looking at what makes your business work better. So how can I establish customer efficiency? How can I be more efficient at providing customer service? And how can I optimize my workflows rather than spending time on, again, analysis, trying to set up people who can take the calls or to have them interact with clients one-on-one. Okay, so here are some of the use cases that we've actually heard about and we've actually helped some of our clients and partners introduce. I've organized these in internal and external. Internal would be how you would actually use AWS Connect for yourself to support your own staff or for your own uses. External would be more for how you would interact with the broader community. Internally, we've actually had a couple of different opportunities to use AI. One would be just to even understand if you have a help desk already, or if you have a contact center, a way for someone to actually check in to see what's the status of my ticket, or do I even have an open ticket available? You would actually be able to call in and find out, when was the last time I called in? Has that been resolved yet? In case that person has not received a ticket that notified them that they were closed, they could actually call the help desk and find out, what was the last status of that issue that I raised. And for maybe not even an IT ticket, for another client, we actually have a use case where we had a high volume of calls going into their HR team, where their policies and procedures are often updated, and they have a very, I'll call it transient community. They have projects, so a lot of times we'll rotate in and out of them, and they need to know, what is the process for submitting expenses? What is the leave process? And actually, even going beyond that, what we were able to show them was an interactive chat or voice session that allowed an employee to check the leave balance, to see how much PTO do I have? When would be the next time I can actually take a full day off based on the accrual schedule? So by just digitizing some of the HR policies and procedures, and actually we used AI to actually mine that just based on reading through all the actual documentation. It was actually able to interpret and make these calculations for people on the fly. Some other use cases that were very, currently we're experiencing a lot of work from home. Off and on, we're going to have office closures. And so one other use case that might be applied internally would be to set up AWS Connect to do company notifications, emergency response, saying if I know my staff are going to be calling in because they're going to check on whether the office is open, you could actually have a pre-recorded message that would be able to identify that it's a staff person, number one. And then through prompts, you could basically have that staff person check, well, is this location going to be open or is it closed? What is the current state of our emergency preparedness plan? So again, this is not something that you would have necessarily always planned for, but it's very easy to set up. And so this is a way for a company just to start adopting this type of AI to use and to adopt into their company like immediately. So from an external standpoint, these are going to sound familiar. These are things that you've probably experienced already, but well, one thing that you might want to consider from an AWS Connect perspective is if you don't already have a call center, if you don't already have a help desk, this is one way to stand it up. Or if you do have it, this could be a way to address a new need. If you have a new product, a new service that you're going to be rolling out, and you haven't been able to go to your contact team, your contact desk, and tell them, hey, this is the new process for handling these types of calls, you could actually stand this up as a way to route around that, to say, well, we don't have this existing, but we need a way to interact with our users now. So this would be a very quick and easy way to do that. But say you do have an existing contact center, but you only staff it 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. And now you are in a situation where you actually do have people who might call after hours, who are working from different locations and are in different time zones. I now need to scale out my ability to address those users, but now I only have one support number, but now I need to have more staffing, or instead of having that staffing, what if you were able to use that existing contact number and then use AWS Connect in order to extend your service hours beyond your 8 to 5? What it would be able to do is anticipate that if they're calling from this time zone and they knows that it's after hours, then it's going to route it to a separate system, a different set of prompts that advise them of how they might be able to address this situation, or just as a way to initially filter and triage that call before it wakes someone up at 9 p.m. or that's pretty early sleep, 3 a.m. call from a user who's out there on the East Coast. This would be a way to supplement your existing team to address a sudden change in your operating environment without necessarily impacting it by having to scale out. And of course, the last bullet I have there is, if you know that there's going to be a sudden increase in amount, or you can anticipate it somehow, but you don't necessarily know how much, this would be a way for you to address that need, similar to after hours, but also in this case where if you already have an existing contact center, but you know this is an interesting situation that you didn't necessarily anticipate, you could route certain calls to this system instead of your existing team, as just a way, again, to offset and supplement what you already have. And thinking beyond AWS Connect, I did want to talk a little bit about AWS in general. One of the reasons why we are a partner, and we see so much applicability for our clients, for our teams, is that AWS really is a global infrastructure. It is secure, it's scalable and flexible, and we have definitely needed that ability to go global. We have partners who are based in Asia. We needed to deploy some services to them, so we're able to stand up a service that is much more local to where they are, so the performance is fast. And meanwhile, we have another team in the East Coast. So how are you going to be able to establish the availability of your services across those teams? The other thing that we see a lot of is, are people migrating existing systems? And there are 3 that I've listed. There are actually 6 different patterns, they call them. But when you need to migrate a system or to put it into a different space because it's either getting old or because you need to get more new functions, you have the option to look at rehosting it. So just using AWS as infrastructure. Replatforming it to take advantage of some of the scale that it has. So instead of using multiple servers, you use templates to create additional capacity where you didn't before. Or to the end is a refactor, where you basically rewrite the application or system so it can take advantage of all that the cloud has to offer. But that, again, assumes that you have an existing system that you want to migrate for one reason or another. And one thing that I want to make sure that everyone kind of appreciates about AWS is it allows you to deploy faster, to move faster, to have a bias for action, to be able to do something, not spend all your time doing the planning for something that you may not even have all the requirements for immediately, but to actually do something today, do something within this week, try something and try to see where that takes you. Okay, and then some guidance or advice that we've picked up along the way working with AWS. And especially because AWS itself is very much like wandering into a Home Depot. But you're not going to go into Home Depot thinking I'm going to build my house. You want to know, okay, well, what am I going to focus on first before I before I make any decisions? And you need to put yourself in the position of knowing your business best. It's not what can you do, because with AWS, we've found that you really can do almost anything. And the answer to, can I do this, is almost always going to be yes. But what you should do is really up to your business. It's a call that you would need to make based on your understanding of who you are, who you're trying to serve, and how you're going to do it. And so to always keep that business perspective, and then hope, well, not even have to hope, you're going to know that there's going to be a technical component behind it that's going to work. So when you're thinking about how you're going to migrate, think about those factors about what you should do. But if you're not migrating, think about proof of concepts or pilots. And going back to the business objectives again, have someone in part of the team who represents the business side of it. So don't just, we're a very technical company, so I know our line of thinking is often, wow, let's just do this to see how cool it is. But you need to have someone who represents a business perspective to say, well, what are we trying to achieve? Is this really going to work for this purpose? And does this really solve our problem? So don't forget to put in a analyst, a subject matter expert, or someone who's a stakeholder on the business side to make sure you've defined your business objectives so you know what you're trying to achieve through your pilot or proof of concept. And because you can deploy fast, experiment fast, fail fast, but fixed fast. So because you can do things in a very agile way to set up experiments, test what happens, and we don't necessarily mean fail as in everything goes to disaster or catastrophe, but it means that you're going to learn something very quickly about how well this actually, this setup or this configuration works. And if it worked the way you want it to, great, keep going. And if not, fix it. And it allows you to fix fast or tear things down and start over again. So think small pilots, proof of concepts, think of ways that you can drive the team to business objectives. Finally, the last thing to consider is that you really need to understand that this is a consumption model and there are tiers. And so there's actually a free tier for almost every solution that AWS offers, which allows you to, again, experiment without incurring any kinds of costs. So then there's a tier at which once you pass a certain threshold, you're going to be paying a certain amount. One thing I would advise is that people understand the pricing model. You're usually dealing with fractions of pennies, so it doesn't seem like it could add up. But if you're starting to look at 24/7 operations, if you do forget that you've started up this service and not turned it down at any point in time, it does add up. And because the scale of the cloud, one of the only things that can actually limit you or keep you from making a bad decision might be your finances. So understanding how it's priced, how you're consuming it, and even setting budgets ahead of time is a very good way to put in some guardrails to make sure you don't exceed, again, your business objectives, because you don't want this thing to be more expensive than you anticipated. But that's all I wanted to go through. I know Adrienne and Chris have some more lined up to share, but thank you for your time.
Great, thank you, Scott. Unfortunately, I think we don't have time for Q&A right now, but if you guys would like to stay on a little bit, we can start the Q&A in 2 minutes after I do the close. I just want to respect people's time if they need to leave. So if you want to stay on for Q&A, please do. If you can't, we understand. But I wanted to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you, Chris, Adrienne, and Scott, for sharing your solutions that can help us all improve customer service and our customer care centers. To close out, the session has been recorded and we'll share it with you after the event. If you opt to continue the conversation or you want to provide feedback, the link is over at the chat area. We would really appreciate your input. It's also an opportunity for you to continue this discussion. We have a box where you can tick off, oh, I want to be part of a roundtable, or I'd like to speak to one of the panelists. Just fill out the form and we will make that happen. I'd like to highlight upcoming True events that are coming up shortly. Next week, Servco is going to share their customer service solution. Work from home has changed the way we interact with our customers. Peter Dewar and his team at Servco will share how they have a 360-degree view of their customers, from knowing their customers to data analytics to how to market to them. So look for that. If you want to get to know Adrienne a little bit better and hear about her career journey, we'll be featuring Adrienne in a Women in Technology series created by HTTC to highlight different roles in technology. True focuses on providing and sharing solutions. True is vendor agnostic, and we acknowledge that there's more than one way to solve a problem. There are customer care solutions, including help desk, that 2 state agencies have put in place with Salesforce. They each have very different approaches. One started small and grew, and one started with a large strategic plan, but they both achieved their goal. If you're interested in learning more about these solutions or in learning more about how you can be involved with True, please go to hec.org/true. And I forgot to share the screen so you can see it. I look forward to more collaboration as we face multiple challenges, from combating the pandemic to diversifying Hawaii's economy to accelerating adoption of technology and innovation as we make our organizations more productive and competitive. I wanted to thank you again for joining us today and for your continued support. And then I will take a peek to see how many people are still on, and if there are a lot of people on, why don't we go ahead and move to our Q&A section. Can I invite the panelists to come back?
Hi, Michelle.
Hello. We have a lot of questions for you guys. You ready?
We're ready. We'll do our best.
Okay, first question. When you say it's free, is it really free, or was it only during the development phase and experimental use cases?
Yeah, so You know what? It's really free, and so we did not pay anything to Amazon Connect, and really all that we're paying is our permanent use charges for the phone lines, and the phone lines you get it directly from Amazon, and they have just a lot of numbers already reserved and in their services available for all different area codes, and so And that's really what we're paying. You're paying monthly for your usage, and that's it. But we are not paying for any of the AI or any of the features and functionalities that come with Amazon Connect.
Okay, and then Scott, you mentioned that we had to consider the cost model. Do you want to share anything there?
Maybe not particularly with Connect. A lot of the prices are actually going to be, if you have low volume especially, it does fall within a free tier. But if you do know that at one point after your experiment or your proof of concept, you're going to actually use this ongoing and potentially throw more volume at it, you should know what you're getting into. So it's good to know all the services and how they might start accruing charges.
And there are great tools within Amazon to help with your budgeting, that you can actually use those to budget out, plan what your volume is, and you can actually project your costs. And if you are looking at doing a complex solution, whether it's in the contact center or elsewhere, Amazon does a great job of helping fund those. So you can actually work with your partner, whether it's us or DataHouse or someone else, and we can work to get you funding through Amazon to basically pay for a proof of concept if it's definitely going to be complex.
Got it. And then is there a limit to the volume of calls that can be handled?
Well, nothing is infinite, but if you've built out a traditional call center, one of the things that is you have to get, whether you're going ISDN or PRI, you need channels coming in, and whatever you buy, you're either buying too much that it sits empty or it sits idle a lot of the time, or you're not buying enough and you actually have busy signals at times. And also the same for your infrastructure. Whatever you buy for your agents, how many agents you're going to seat, your licenses, that's all predetermined up front, and it's not very flexible. With Connect, it's almost limitless. You're not going to build a call center to put on there. I mean, Amazon alone seats over 80,000 concurrent agents every day. And that's just one component, one use case of being on Amazon Connect. There are tens of thousands of agents. You could add 1,000 agents tomorrow, wouldn't impact Amazon Connect at all. And you could start taking that volume immediately by just deploying a simple call center.
Great. And Adrienne, you increased the number of people handling your calls during your project, right?
Yeah, we did. So on our existing on-premise platform, we had or could only accommodate 5 agents within our IT tech support help desk. So a lot of our first call resolution, our first call resolution were very poor. And a lot of it was because, we had just, not very skilled technical agents, manning the first calls as it came through our support center. Once we deployed Amazon Connect, to Chris's point and to Scott's point, it's so the platform was so flexible that we were able to add on all of our tech support teams. And so our users now have the ability to talk straight to a tech instead of layered. And so, we've gotten a lot of positive comments that they can get to a technician very quickly because, they're out there, they're growing the business, they're working hard and they need help. And I think they appreciated that change to be able to just get directly to an engineer.
Got it. Thank you.
So we went, so Michelle, we went from 5 to 17 in a day.
That's wild. Mickey has a great question. Does call sentiment work with Pigeon? Gold star to anyone who can answer that one.
No, it does not. What's that combining? Isn't it a combination of Chinese and English, I believe? So right now, contact lens is available in English and Spanish, and it's specifically English. It calls out US English, UK English, Australian, and Indian. They will be adding more languages throughout the year. It is a new service. It came on general availability, I want to say in the middle of the summer. And Adrienne had been whitelisted for it and was testing it out just before it got released and was on it already when it went available to the public. So it is very, very new. And that's one of the great things with Amazon. They're always developing their products. Sometimes they'll put them out and it's not exactly what you want. It will get there. And I think over 90% of the features you see in Amazon services come from requests from customers. So
That's great to know.
Amazon listens. They are customer obsessed and they listen.
Got it.
Hey, Michelle, I just wanted to share a funny story. You know, you asked about Pigeon, and we actually tested it. We played with it and
we should test it.
And let me tell you, the sentiment results were all red. Could not understand a thing that we were. So I didn't get a very good score on that call.
Good to know.
I just thought I'd share that.
My next thing was, let's test it out. So does the customer provide feedback post-call? And if so, what's the overall feedback of the customer experience?
Yeah, so we haven't built out the automated customer survey yet. We have yet to get there. So right now we're not doing customer feedback because we're just right now in the internal deployment. We do reach out. I'll go through some of the call recordings and I'll reach out to some of our users just to say, hey, how was your experience? And we get a lot of good feedback from our employees. So, and we take that to heart and we make sure that we put that in our notes and we make sure that we address that as we go to the next deployment. But we're looking forward to getting there, and hopefully that's soon. We just launched chatbot last week. In fact, we just activated chatbot for our internal support help desk, and so we're pretty excited about that. And we're doing a lot of API integration to a database right now to help do all of the easy routine tasks. And one of the areas that we're looking for AI to take control is in our password resets. And so process, which is, almost internally for IT support help desk is probably about 70% of our calls.
That's good to know. This is a little bit of a tougher question, and I'm sure it's unique to each individual organization, but were jobs eliminated? I think one of the fears of AI and RPA is that, we eliminate jobs. Have you seen that? And then how were employees impacted positively and negatively?
For us, there were no job eliminations. And, really, when you talk about AI, AI is there to enhance the customer experience. It is not there to replace the human interaction. And so, it's about making manual processes or mundane processes more efficient so that we can take our agents and put them into areas that we can help to grow the business. And so, no, absolutely not. And I think if you read a lot about AI in call centers, you will see that one of the themes is that AI is not by any means the answer to cost reduction in terms of headcount, right? But it's more to augment and help the experience and help the agents.
Yep, and I've heard people share that because everyone is so inundated with work, that if AI and RPA can help, then people are redirected to either sales generating, businesses or jobs or tasks.
Right.
No, that's
and I think, I think it's important, our agents are so experienced and they have so much information to share. And if we can just give them the time to be able to, to offer some help in terms of how we can improve processes. They're so inundated today with just all of their time and energy is just spent on servicing the customer. But a lot of them, if you get a chance to sit down and talk with them, they have a lot of good information that they can help in delivering, a great experience. But I got to tell you, our agents, even in our external contact center, they work hard and, they are tired. They are tired. By the end of the day, they are tired, and we've got to fix that.
Yep. No, I think that's great. And the people with the experience are able to help these systems come to fruition, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Is there an optimal minimal size for the technology to be economically feasible? Thinking of smaller companies, for example.
You
Well, I would
know,
say, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Adrienne.
go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like for a smaller company, I mean, this is the ideal way to deploy a contact center. That you do not have to have a capital expenditure to purchase hardware licenses or anything. I mean, and you don't have to spend the money for people to engineer it. You can work with a consultant relatively quickly. And, you know, I saw one of the questions in there, how quickly can you set up something like this? You could sit with someone in a basic call center and have it up in a matter of hours. And the more of the questions are going to be, how do you want to word things and what do you want to have answered first? I mean, it can be done that quickly. The interface is very simple for the agents. The reporting tool is very simple. For a small company, this is a great way to go. And it doesn't mean, by the way, this is for small companies because you can see thousands of agents on this and make it a very, very complex environment to serve any contact center needs.
Okay. Scott, anything to add in Hawaii here?
Well, no, I was going to say the same thing as far as you don't usually start with a call center in mind when you start building something, a service or product. So this is a way, and I've seen even when you want to publish an app on the in the App Store, you need a number or you would need to provide a number. And this would actually be easier to get a number through AWS Connect than they actually register one through like a, it's faster to do it this way. Yeah. Okay,
and then Darren has a follow-up question to how many calls. He's talking about 7 million calls. How workable is that? Most of that during, you know, business hours. But maybe Darren, I can allow you to share a little bit more.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Well, I've been working with a state agency, and I'm in Texas, and they have a call center, and they are limited in the number of people that, you know, I guess the state legislature limits state agency head counts. And so you can only assign a certain number of people to this function, and they are essentially overwhelmed. And so with 7 million calls, the solution might be a call center with a chat bot that can address most people's questions without human intervention. You know, 7 million calls is out of bounds, and so they can't answer all the calls, and people give up, and then they go to a physical site, and then they overwhelm that site, and so it's like, as in an office, not a website. So I'm just trying to think if this is a good solution for that kind of a problem.
Well, that sounds familiar. Scott or Chris?
I can take a stab. Actually, it definitely could. And one thing that you would want to consider is that not everyone is calling with the same issue at once. If you can at least categorize the types of issues and set up like a detour to say that I'm going to publish this contact number and this chat function in order to address these types of issues, that would be one way of stemming the flow. Again, I don't know if it's 7 million is like a consistent thing all the time, or if it's just because of the surge of, you know, activities these days. But yeah, that would be one way of trying to at least address that type of volume, is to categorize how the callers are going and potentially routing certain types of issues a different way.
Great, thank you, Scott. Okay, and thank you, Darren. Another question, how does AWS have a beta environment where you test the flow before it goes live? How does that work?
Well, you can set up a contact flow and have it not even in production. You can keep have it set up so you just have one test number that you send to it and not your live environment. And you could flip-flop the number that points to it at any point that you've tested it and feel it's ready for your customers. So it's not really a sandbox per se, it's how you use it. And the flexibility for you to actually make changes, everything is literally instantaneous. So you can test it and then flip it to production when you're ready. And then if you have those changes and you wish to then expand on those in the future, it's simple to export all the work you've done and create a new contact flow, and now update it and get ready, test it again, and do it all over again. So it's very, very easy to work with.
Great, thank you. And maybe this will be our last question. Can this be integrated with sales and marketing applications? Or maybe you can share a example, because the answer is probably yes, right?
The answer is yes.
Chris or
Absolutely.
Scott, you guys, yeah.
Yeah, actually a lot of what the AWS Connect integrates on, or it's best to integrate with, is if you have an existing customer relationship management system. That's a good way of identifying who your contacts are. So if they're coming in, you already know potentially what issue they might be reporting or what they actually want. So interestingly enough, someone actually asked about call volume. There is a limit to how many outbound calls you would make or outbound messages. It's because AWS does not want you to abuse this to become a spammer. So there are actually coded limits in that. So inbound, I don't think you'll ever have a problem addressing the inbound, but from the sales and marketing perspective, if you do want to send, email blasts or calls, that will be monitored a little bit more. You can actually increase the thresholds, but they do that in order to protect the public.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Oh, I wanted to thank you all again. I think that this has been a great session and informative. Thank you for being so giving. For everyone who's still on the line, everything will be on the website for share, including the flows and the roadmap and all the slides. So please check back there, and then the recordings will be available shortly as well. Thank you guys, very sincerely.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Scott.
Thanks, Adrienne.
Chris.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, take care, stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Okay, bye.